Please help me welcome J Loren Norris. Please help me welcome J Loren Norris.
I hear people say all the time, if you're going to launch your business, launch your career, dive into your education, build an empire. You got to know what your passion is. You got to know what your joy is. You got to be able to bring your life story into it. And then if you just do that, everybody will flock to you. Your business will grow. All kinds of money will come in, and that will be the end of it. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lie. It's misleading. And it's not completely intentionally misleading. It's not designed to take you off course, but it does. And unfortunately, that kind of advice often comes from somebody who really, well, they haven't done what you endeavored to do, and so honestly, they just don't have a clue. But that's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders. Stay tuned. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and I can tell you, as someone who has, as an entrepreneur, started a couple of different businesses, about 4, 5 or so, and some of them have been very successful in the ways of making an impact, doing business with people, building an income. When we accidentally launched our DJ business in 2005, we had no idea. We did not plan to start a DJ business. And because we didn't plan to start one, we had no idea what we were doing. And I mean that in every possible way. I didn't wake up one day and go, hey, I think I'll be a DJ. I literally made a smart aleck comment to my wife about the DJ that we had hired for a kids event. And I said, I could accidentally do better than that. They show up late. They don't know how to engage with the kids. The kids don't like them. They don't play the right kind of music. Half the time, they can't even get their sound system to work on time. I think I could accidentally do better than that. And the very first time that we canceled the contract because the person showed up late, my wife asked me 2 days before the event, who's going to DJ? And I'm like, I guess it'll be me. And I went to the pawn shop and I bought some equipment and I called somebody that I knew who had been in the industry for a long time. And he said, well, you've been on radio. I said, yeah, I did that. He said, well, you know how to talk. I know how to do that. He said, well, then all you need now is the right music. And so he helped me build a music library. And I took off on that Saturday night. And that Saturday, a lady walked in and she stood in the corner with her arms crossed the whole night, just looking at me like I had eaten her kitty cat. And at the end of the night, she walked over and she said, I have a question for you. And I said, okay. She said, how long have you been doing this? And I said, well, we started with the kids entertainment industry about 6 years ago. She said, no. How long have you been doing this as a DJ? And I said, 2.5 hours. She said, wow. And I'm thinking she's about to let me have it. The music is too loud. You're playing inappropriate music for the kids. My kids will never be back here. Anything like that was what I expected. And what she said instead was, I've been the principal for an elementary school for over a dozen years. And every year we have this big event called Field Day for our 5th graders. And every year we hire a DJ. And I have never in all my time seen a DJ who can motivate the crowd and move the kids like you've done. You're incredible. And I was completely taken aback. I had no idea. She said, last year we paid our DJ X. Would you be willing to work for that amount to do our field day this year? And in the back of my head, I'm doing a little math and realized that she was offering to pay me 10 times what I was paying myself to do the same job. And I said, absolutely. Now, it took a couple of years to get beyond the doing the DJ thing just for ourselves and taking on more of those outside private public events. But in the year of 2009, that little DJ business, it was barely 4 years old. I stepped out of corporate America and we almost broke the 6-figure mark with almost 190 events in 1 year. 190 DJ events in 1 year. $96,000, I think, was the total gross income from a little fledgling DJ business. Now, I want to tell you some of the things that don't matter. Your life story, your joy, your passion. Those things are not nearly as important as you think. And I say what I just told you about our DJ business as evidence because I had no desire to start a DJ business. It wasn't my plan to be in the wedding industry or the kids entertainment industry. I can tell you that all of the natural gifts and talents and skills that I have made that possible. However, what I really needed and didn't have followed me into the next launch, and that was my speaking career. And when I moved into the speaking career, I thought I have the gifts and the talents for that, and I love this industry, and I see a lot of people in this industry making a whole lot of money. John Maxwell and some of those guys, or Tony Robbins, Les Brown, $75,000 to $100,000 every single time they step on the stage. Who wouldn't want that? We do that 10 times a year and you're okay, right? You can be a millionaire with 20 events. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And so I dove in headlong and I realized, well, there's got to be some skill level that makes me a little better. So I went after the skills. And there's got to be some credential that makes me a little better, that makes me worth that $50,000. And so I went after the credentials and I became a certified coach, and I took the Dale Carnegie course and I began coaching the Dale Carnegie course, and I joined the John Maxwell team and I began coaching John Maxwell content, and I took all the stuff that I'd been learning and I was applying it the best I could, and yet here's what I never really got my hands around, and I look back now a dozen years later and realize I'm just now beginning to implement the stuff that I'm about to tell you goes long before your story, long before your passion, long before your joy, long before your brand, long before your reputation. If you will solve these problems first, you will not launch over a dozen years like I have. You will launch a lot more successfully. Here's the hard thing to hear. The world doesn't care what you love to do. Sorry, it's true. My primary business now is coaching speakers, motivational speakers, political campaigns, politicians in office, teenagers in high school. And what I find with most of them is they want to tell the story of their life. They want their story to be out there. And I tell people, nobody cares about your story. It's a drill bit. Your story is nothing more than a tool along the way to the solution that you're offering for the problem that they have. Now, all of that is very true and very important, and it took me a long time to come to that conclusion, and yet that's not the launching conclusion that you need. I sat on a call just yesterday and I heard some things that I've heard before. I heard some things that I've taught before. Probably 90% of what I heard on this webinar, I've taught myself just using different words. Same concept, same ideas, same necessary, same importance, same priorities, different wording. But about 10% of what I heard was a reinforcement of what I know I have missed in my launch. And there are things that if you'll listen to me, I can shorten your curve by a lot. It's easy to go out there and write a speech. Probably not as easy as you think. In fact, if you think it's super easy, you don't understand the magnitude of what you're about to do. But writing a speech and building a business, those are not the same. Writing a speech and getting paid to speak, those are not the same. One of the points that the gentleman I listened to yesterday made was the difference between a public speaker and a private speaker. Now, I've heard Steve Siebold talk about this in the past. Steve Siebold, who is past president of the National Speakers Association, one of the handful in the multi-million-dollar club of speakers, and a lot of people don't even know his name. See, John Maxwell is a public speaker, a motivational teacher, according to his own definition, which means most of the presentations he does, those are for the public. Those are large gatherings of lots of people who have paid for a ticket to be there, or they've been invited to be there, and it's open to the public. But some of what he does is private speaking. There are a lot of those speakers who are not known at all because they only speak for private events. They're on a private contract. Nobody's allowed to come into the room except the people who've been paid by the company to be in the room. This talk, this training, this speech is delivered for them specifically. And so the average public doesn't hear about it, but some of those guys will make $10,000 to $20,000 every time they speak, and they'll speak 40 or 50 times a year. They're making $500,000 just on the speech, but that's not the business plan. All right, so what doesn't matter when you launch? Your joy, your passion, your story, your brand, even your reputation. When you launch, none of those things matter, and that is what I fear is the misnomer. A lot of people believe if I just have enough joy, if I'm passionate about what I do, if I build a brand and it's got a great reputation and I have a great reputation and people know who I am, then I'm going to be wealthy. And I just told you some of the biggest names aren't making as much money as some of the unknown names. So it's not about the brand, it's not about the reputation, but it is about this other thing, this what really matters that a lot of people don't tell you. I didn't know until I was way into this. I had spent tens of thousands of dollars. Haven't quite invested over the six-figure mark yet, but it's getting close. But what I invested in was the skill set to become better at what I do. What I have invested less in is the mastery of the business principles that make what I do profitable for the sake of a legacy. Not just that I've created some content, I've written 7 books, and I've still got more coming. I've created the online courses, but only in the last year. I've actually developed curriculum that can be used for mentors to teach high school students, and that same curriculum has been used at the collegiate level and it's been used in Parliament. It's curriculum that's solid, and yet nobody knows anything about it. It's the best kept secret. And if you listen really close to the people who've successfully built a business, they'll tell you best known beats best. Doesn't matter how good you are if nobody knows who you are. And yet even that isn't what matters most. It's not what matters. Here's what matters. That you understand a plan and a strategy. That you can look honestly at your devised plan and go, here's what I need to pull this off. Now, I didn't know that I needed an online school. I didn't know that I needed a QR code. I didn't know that I needed some way for people to give me money. I know that sounds like a duh, right? But think about the number of people that you've met who their joy and their passion, their desire to move forward is narrowly focused into mastering the skill set to make that important. And yet on the back end, they have no business plan. They don't know what they don't know. That's the number one problem. That's a mindset issue. That's called unconscious incompetence. And there's a whole scale for that. And I've taught on it many times. That's not all I want you to know today, though. What I want you to know is you've got to figure out what it is that your business demands to grow. Do you need to have an office? Will it require a studio? How much equipment are you going to need to buy? Maybe you're in the shipping business and you need to buy trucks. Maybe you're in the shipping business and leasing trucks is not only more financially efficient and more effective, but it's safer because they've already done the safety checks. They've already done all the state inspections. They've already met all the governmental requirements. You don't have to invest in that. It may cost you more to lease a truck than to own a truck up front, but it's going to save you a whole lot of heartache down the road. It may be that you don't have to own trucks and hire drivers at all. What you need to do is find a bunch of private contractors who already have their trucks, already meet all the requirements, already have all their licensing, and all you have to do is find them the work. Oh, see, that's a whole different kind of a business, right? If my job is speaking, what I have to do is find a bunch of stages to speak on. But what if the content that I've developed has a broader bandwidth than just standing on the stage? What if it's more than just what happens in that 45 minutes to an hour on the stage in front of a crowd of people, private or public? What if There's more to me than meets the eye in a 45-minute presentation, and you need to get that book, or not that one, but the other. Well, no, maybe you need both of those, or maybe book A and book C. Maybe those are the two that are really going to change your life. And maybe like a pizza buffet, you should have the choice of which one of those things are going to best impact you. But as a business owner, as the entrepreneur launching this venture, eventually I have to have all that curriculum. But before I have that, I have to have people who will come behind me and go, I want in on what you're doing. Maybe they're investors. Maybe it's the SBA, the Small Business Administration, who's going to make a loan. You know what the first question they're going to ask you is? What are you going to do with the money? If we make you a $500,000 loan to launch this business, what are you going to do with the money? You know what will not answer that question? Well, my joy is, well, my passion is, well, my brand is, well, my reputation is. They don't care. They want to know, what's your strategy? What's your plan? Who are you going to help? And how? What services will you offer? What tools do you need to make those services available? See, if I were to go back a dozen years into this public speaking, podcasting career of mine and say, what's my plan? What's my strategy? Beyond turn on the cameras. Oh yeah, I've invested in all the studio equipment. I've invested in the lights, the sound equipment, the microphones, the cameras, the 7-foot tripods, the space, all of that. I've put a lot of money into being able to do this podcast. It doesn't happen for free. And it's amazing to me that people say, hey, let me come and be on your show, as if their presence on my show is going to make my show a big deal or not. And then they say to me, why would you want to charge for that? Well, I don't know. Did you pay the electric bill? Did you pay for the cameras beyond? Have you paid for the distribution? Do you pay for the editing? No, you want the free ride, and then you want to put my show on your branding. And so where's the investment going? Now, see, if I'd sat down with the Small Business Administration and said, I want X number of thousands of dollars to build the studio, buy the equipment, et cetera, what do you think would have been the first question they'd ask? How are you going to pay back the loan? I think I'm going to get speaking gigs and they're going to pay me $50,000 to be on stage. That's a good plan. How do you plan to make that happen? Don't know that part yet. Right now I'm trying to write the speech that sells. And once I write the speech that sells, I think people will beat down the door. I'm going to write a book. And once I write that book, there'll be tens of thousands of people standing in line I'm going to create an online course. And see, this has been the challenge for me personally over a dozen years. Why? Because I found there are a whole lot of people who don't want to give away the farm, so to speak. They want to sell you a $5 or $10 or $20 or $50,000 package to show you what it means to build a business. But nobody really wants to open the kimono and show you what it means to build a speaking business. There are very few of those. Now there are a couple. And the few that I've been involved in, I sit in the backside most of that, and I work specifically with the speakers to be better communicators, and there are others who help build their business, build their online presence, build their back office sales system, build their online courses, put that whole platform together to make the machinations work so that when you speak on stage and you finish your presentation and say, hey, if you'd like to speak with me further, if you'd like to engage with me further, if you'd like to hire me as a coach, if you'd like to learn about my curriculum, here's a QR code. And this QR code will take you to this free offer so you can decide whether or not we should engage even more deeply. And while there, you'll have an invitation to buy some things. That's the course of the business plan. But see, if you're launching today and you're thinking that I have enough joy, I have enough passion, I have a great life story, I have all of the brand and reputation things that everybody looks at me and says, oh, you're wonderful. But you don't have a plan for who you're going to help, what problems you're going to solve, how that solution is going to be delivered to them, what it's going to cost you to deliver that solution. See, that's another one of those hurdles that the small business administrator, the loan financier, your business partners, your collaborating businesses, they want to know. If I'm going to put money in the bank for you to spend to grow this business, how am I going to get my money back? And if you believe that you're going to do one thing and it's going to make all that money, you're probably missing it. I mean, even to use the shipping illustration, if you thought that, well, I'll go out and land that one client, it's going to make me $100,000 a year. Awesome. That's awesome. Let me ask you this. How much will it cost you to have the software to put on a laptop, to have access to the licensing boards and et cetera, to be able to get that one client? Here's another one. What if that one client only pays after everything's delivered? Who pays for the fuel? Who pays the drivers? Who pays for the warehouse and the forklift and the storage space for you to get the merchandise that will then be delivered? I mean, how do you make that happen? See, that all that requires cash flow. And when I say the first thing you need is a plan includes the budget. It's an estimation of the things that you believe it will cost you to put all this together. And if you had the money, $250,000 to launch, how would you spend it? I'm going to share with you real briefly. I heard Patrick David express this on a podcast yesterday. I don't usually share somebody else's story, but this one is so profound. And it fits very well with what we're talking about today. Boy, 7 to 10 years old, comes in and sees his dad. His dad says, "Son, today what I want you to do is I want you to earn $5. Go earn $5. And so the son steps out of the presence of dad and sees his mom. He's like, "Earn $5? What does that even mean?" So mom gives him $5. At the end of the day, dad comes home from work and he says, "Son, did you earn $5? He hands him the $5. Dad crumples it up and throws it in the fireplace. The son looks at him bewildered, and mom has a cow. "Why would you burn up money like that?" And the dad looks at his son and says, "Let me guess. Mom gave you that $5. I can tell by the way she reacted to the money." Next day, dad comes in. He said, "Son, today I want you to earn $5. Don't go asking your mother for it." Mom's like, "I'm not giving you the money. I saw what happened to it yesterday." And so the son goes out and begins to beg. He's not counting on his family anymore. He's counting on society. And he goes out and he begins to beg, and nobody wants to give him $5. Finally, he finds Uncle Joe, and Uncle Joe gives him $5. At the end of the day, dad says, "Did you earn your $5? And the son says, "Yep," gives him the $5. He wads it up, throws it into the fireplace, and the son's like, "Well, that's $5 gone." He says, "I'm guessing that you got that money from somebody else and not from your mother, because you still don't have a great concern for it." The next morning he says to his son, "I want you to go out and earn $5. And the son says, "Okay," he said, "but you can't beg it from anybody else, and you can't ask your mom. You got to earn it." The kid goes all day trying to find a way to earn $5. Finally, he finds a guy who says, "If you will fill and move these sandbags, I'll give you a penny per bag." At the end of the day, dad says, "Did you earn your $5? He says, "Nope, but I earned $1.80. Dad takes the $1.80 and throws it in the fireplace, and the son dives in after it to rescue his $1.80. And dad says, "Now I know you've earned that money because you're willing to protect it and hold on to it." I'm going to tell you right now, there are a whole lot of people who will step up behind you in business. They'll make a loan to you. They'll give advice to you. They'll sit on your board. They'll promote your business. They'll promote you. They'll mentor you. They'll lead you. They'll guide you. Here's what they want to know. They want to know that you're willing to earn that $1.80. That you're willing to do the work ethic, to stay late, to get up early, to come in on off days, to get the work done. They want to know you're willing to do what must be done in order to succeed before they buy in. They don't care about your joy. They don't care about your life story. They don't care about your passion. They don't care about your brand. They don't care about your reputation. They care about who that you are, your credibility, your work ethic, your plan. Now, in all honesty, if you watch some of the greatest people on the Shark Tank, the ones who have succeeded, who've gotten large amounts of money and great partnerships, they have a plan. Oh, sure, they've done some branding, they've done some passion, but the ones that really make a big difference, the ones who get the best deals, are the ones who are proving that they know what it means to earn, to lose, to fail, to start over, to restart, and to not just take what comes, but to have a strategy in mind to go get what they need. They also know, when I get it, what am I going to do with it? And how will I pay it back? And if those questions never crossed your mind, if you think I'm going to launch this business, whether it's a speaking career or it's a trucking career or it's a nursing or a doctor's practice, I don't care what it is. If you think you're going to launch it with joy and passion and your life story by creating a brand and a reputation, you got the cart before the horse. In fact, you've got a cart you're going to be pushing around because the horse ain't coming. If you'll back up a little bit and begin to ask the questions, what really matters is who will I help them, who will I help, and how will I help them? What financial investments will I have to make in equipment, in skill sets, in training, in personnel to be able to pull that off? What's that going to cost me? How will I return the money? If you'll ask and answer those questions first, you can probably cut 7 to 10 years off of your launch curve. If you don't start with those questions up front, what are the machinations? How will I return the money? How will I get the money back? What do I have to sell? How many of those do I have to sell? How will I deliver them? I have online courses. I've been creating those for almost 10 years. I'm just now to the place where I'm putting them in the right format and the right tools with the right delivery process for people to consume them in a practical way. What took me so long? I've been busy about creating the courses. I've been passionate about the content that I deliver, not necessarily about how I'm going to get paid to do it. I'm telling you this from my own pain. There are things that matter when you launch and things that matter later. Your joy, it matters later. Your passion, that matters later. Your brand, your reputation, your story, all of those matter later. They matter, just not now. When you launch, what matters is, what is your plan? If you got a $500,000 investment, how would you spend it? Better question, how would you return it? And I don't just mean in theory, I mean nuts and bolts, practical. I'm going to sell X amount of courses. How are you going to sell those? Well, I'm going to promote them to this audience. How are you going to promote with that audience? Well, I'm going to do social media ads. I'm going to get on stages. I'm going to book radio events. I'm going to get on other podcasts. Great. What's it going to cost you to do that? How long will it take you to do that? How long before you can sell enough courses to generate the money to pay back the loan? If you haven't already gone through that exercise, your story doesn't matter, your joy doesn't matter, your passion doesn't matter, your brand doesn't matter, your reputation doesn't matter, because none of those things will answer those questions. Get the cart and the horse in the right order. Work on what matters first. Don't be a dummy like me and be 15 years into this process before you begin to generate the revenue necessary to pay the bills to further your dream. Want to ask me how I know? Hit rewind. Watch it again. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. I encourage you to go to storypoweracademy.com and check it out. Look at the different classes, the different levels, the different things that are available. You can take a lot of them a la carte. But spend some time there and see if that's the kind of thing that would change the way you communicate as a leader, as a pastor, as a counselor, as a political leader. And if that will help you, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Again, only 10 people in the elite speakers. You will have to apply for that. But if you're a candidate, I'd love to have that conversation with you. I'm J Loren Norris with Story Power Academy. I look forward to seeing you inside.